The old men in the town of Black Pine Ridge used to tell stories about the biggest black bear anyone had ever seen. Every few years, rumors would start up again, a sighting deep in the wilderness, claw marks on trees far taller than any bear could reach, strange sounds in the night. Some said it was no ordinary bear but something much older, a spirit of the forest that no bullet could bring down. Most people laughed it off. But this year was different. It was early October, and the leaves had turned deep reds and yellows, a patchwork of dying colors before the long winter. The cold air bit at the skin, promising harsher days to come. This was the season when hunters from all over flocked to Black Pine Ridge, hoping for a trophy, hoping for a tale to tell. But this year, the hunters weren't looking for just any bear. They were after the bear. The rumors had spread fast. A hunter had spotted it 2 weeks ago near Deadman's Creek, a black bear so massive it seemed like a shadow come to life. He fired at it, point-blank range, but it barely flinched. The hunter swore he emptied his whole clip, yet the bear stood there, staring at him with eyes that glowed like embers. It was only when the bear walked away that the hunter realized he had pissed himself from fear. A group of 5 men decided they were going to be the ones to bring it down. They were seasoned hunters, men who had taken down elk, wolves, even the occasional grizzly in the northern ranges. This bear would be no different, they told themselves. Just a bigger, meaner version of what they'd faced before. Mike led the group, a man in his late 40s with a face weathered by years in the wilderness. His brother Jack was with him, always the reckless one, ready for anything. Then there was Carson, a gruff man with a limp from a hunting accident years ago, and Lucas, the youngest of the group but eager to prove himself. Rounding out the group was Red, a man who'd earned his nickname from the fire-colored beard that hung to his chest, a giant of a man, both in size and temper. They left before dawn, driving deep into the woods, far from the town and its lights. The trail was rough, winding through dense pine trees that loomed like ancient sentinels. The further they went, the more it felt like they were leaving the world behind. The stories of the bear, the warnings from the old men, all of it seemed distant now. This was the wild, and they were the hunters. The plan was simple: track it, corner it, and take it down. They had enough firepower to kill a dozen bears, rifles, shotguns, and even a few grenades Red had brought along for the fun of it. They laughed as they went over their strategy, the air thick with anticipation. But as the sun rose higher, and they reached the base of Black Pine Ridge, the laughter died away. They found the first sign of the bear near noon, a massive footprint, larger than any they had ever seen, pressed deep into the earth. The mood shifted. It was no longer just a story, no longer just rumors. This was real. Mike crouched down beside the print, his hand trembling as he measured the size. It wasn't possible. No bear should be this big. The forest seemed to grow quieter as they moved on, as if even the birds and animals had fled from something lurking in the shadows. They walked in silence now, their eyes scanning every tree, every rock. The weight of the hunt had settled over them like a thick fog. Then, they heard it. A low, guttural growl that echoed through the trees, sending chills down their spines. It was close, too close. Mike raised his hand, signaling the others to stop. The growl came again, louder this time, and then a crashing sound, something big moving through the brush. The bear appeared from the tree-line, and it was everything the stories had said and more. It was massive, its black fur matted and thick, its eyes glowing with a malevolent intelligence. It stood on its hind legs, towering over them, at least 12 feet tall, its breath steaming in the cold air. For a moment, none of them moved, paralyzed by the sheer size of the beast. Then Mike fired. The shot rang out, a sharp crack that shattered the silence. The bullet struck the bear in the chest, but it didn't fall. Instead, it let out a deafening roar, a sound so deep and primal it seemed to shake the ground beneath their feet. The bear dropped onto all fours and charged. Panic set in. Jack fired next, unloading his rifle, each shot hitting the bear, but it was as if the bullets were nothing more than mosquito bites. Carson pulled the pin from one of Red's grenades and hurled it toward the charging beast. The explosion rocked the forest, a burst of fire and smoke. But when the dust cleared, the bear was still there, bloodied but unrelenting. It slammed into Carson first, its massive paw catching him across the chest. The force of the blow sent him flying into a tree, his ribcage shattered instantly. He didn't scream, he didn't have time to. Lucas was next. He tried to run, but the bear was too fast. It clamped its jaws around his leg and yanked him off the ground like he was nothing. The scream that tore from Lucas's throat was the most horrifying sound the others had ever heard. The bear shook him like a rag doll, and when it let go, Lucas was missing his leg from the knee down, his body convulsing in shock and pain. Red charged the bear, shotgun in hand, firing shell after shell into its side. The bear roared, turning on him with eyes full of fury. Red swung the butt of his shotgun at the beast, but the bear's claws raked across his arm, slicing through flesh and bone like paper. Red fell back, clutching the bloody stump where his arm had been, his face pale and twisted in agony. Mike and Jack were the only ones left standing. They could see the carnage around them, their friends lying broken and bleeding. But the bear wouldn't stop. It came at them again, its jaws snapping, its eyes burning with a hatred that felt almost human. Mike knew they were out of options. His rifle was almost empty, and Jack had dropped his in the chaos. He grabbed a grenade from Red's pack, the last one, and pulled the pin. "Go," he shouted at Jack. "Get out of here." But Jack didn't run. Instead, he picked up Carson's shotgun and took aim. "We end this now," he growled. The bear lunged, and Mike threw the grenade at its feet. There was another explosion, and the bear staggered, one of its legs blown clean off. But it still didn't fall. Jack screamed, running toward the beast with the shotgun raised, firing over and over. The bear swiped at him, its claws catching his leg and ripping it from his body. Jack collapsed, screaming, but he didn't stop firing. Finally, with one last roar, the bear crumpled to the ground, blood pouring from its wounds. It was dead. Mike sat in the clearing, covered in blood, staring at the massive carcass of the bear. Jack lay nearby, his body still twitching from shock. Carson was dead, Lucas barely clinging to life, and Red was unconscious from blood loss. They had won, but at what cost? As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the forest, Mike couldn't shake the feeling that they had killed something far more than just a bear. There was something ancient, something evil about the creature, and now that it was dead, the forest felt different, quieter, darker. The bear was gone, but the nightmare of Black Pine Ridge was just beginning.